Hi everyone. So today we are going to learn about the observer design pattern in JavaScript. So I'm going to walk you through what observer pattern is, how it works, what is the push and pull method of observer pattern, and where you can apply each method and pros and cons of each method. So observer pattern is a behavioral pattern. The best way to understand observer pattern is to think of a streaming service. When you want services, you subscribe yourself to the streaming service, and then you get all these latest movies and TV series from the streaming service, and then once you decide you no longer need the service, you unsubscribe from that service. The same thing happens in the observer pattern. You will be like the observer will be like you, and the streaming service will be like the subject. So observer will subscribe to the subject, and subject will continuously send notifications to the observers. And when observer decides I no longer need the subject service, I will unsubscribe, and then subject will no longer send notifications to the observer. So in this observer pattern, there are two approaches called push and pull. In the push method, subject actively pushes notifications, pushes its updated states to the observers, whereas in the pull method, observers actively pulls updated states from the subject. And this push method is more suitable when subject is aware of the requirements of the observers, what type of data it observers need, and what type format the observers need them. And the pull method is more suitable when observers better know the subject's data and when they want that data from the subject. In the push method, it could be little noisy and consume a lot of network, because subject will continuously push all its updated states to all the observers. Whereas in the pull method, observers will only pull only a subset of subject's attributes, and the rest of the network can be used for something useful. And then in the push method, subject needs to maintain the list of observers on its side, whereas in the pull method, subject does not need to maintain that list of observers. So in order to make sure that only the allowed observers are pulling data from the subject, we need to have some sanity check. Let's see how we can implement this in the JavaScript code.
So first of all, we need to have the subject created with a constructor that initializes the observer list to an empty array. I'm going to use one data attribute here, which is originally set to 1. Then I'm going to define the subscribe method, which takes in an observer and add that to the observer's list. Then I'm going to define the unsubscribe method, which takes in an observer and removes that from the observer's list. Next, I'm going to define the notify method, which runs through the observers list and run a particular method on each observer, which we will define later. Then I'm going to use a setter method here to update the state of the subject. Then I'm going to define the observer with one update method, which I will call on each observer. It will just output some data value here. So this update method I will be calling on each observer. And I will call the notify method when the state is updated on the subject. Now we are going to test this with several instances, one subject instance and two observer instances. Now we need to subscribe these two observers to the subject. Now we will call the update set data method and see the results. We can see the updated value. Now we can see how the values were before the update method is called. Now we will implement the pull method. So we don't need the subscribe unsubscribe method observer list. Instead, we need to have a getter method to read the subject state. And here we will need to have a sanity check. So I'm going to set the caller attribute of the subject to this observer instance, observer class. and then I'm going to call the data attribute from the subject and print that out. So I'm going to create two observer classes to show you that invalid observers don't get the desired output. So one observer one is of observer one type, observer two is of observer two type. So we don't need the subscribe unsubscribe. After set data, we can call the update method on each observer. And let's now implement the sanity check, where we check the caller attribute. If it is of observer 1 only, we give the subject's data. Otherwise, we give an error message. So now you should see the value 2 printed from the observer 1 and not valid observer printed from the observer 2 object. So that is how we implement the push and pull methods in the observer pattern using JavaScript. Hope this helps. See you in another video.